Come with me.
Oh, Jack! Jack, wait!
They're my Broadway playbills.
Come on and play with me out to the water with me. We're drowning on dry land. Come on and way out into the water with me. Jump in and take my hand. Find some wedges and a feather in me hat. If I run into your brother, then I stop and have a chat. Cut into the garden and the winter rendezvous where the owls and the trees are. Who are you? And the mice and the cats and the spiders and the bats were dancing in the kitchen like a pack of match. Run away with the travelling show. Run away with the rambling gypsy. Oh, run away with the travelling show. Run away with the rambling gypsy. Oh, run away with the travelling show. Run away with the rambling gypsy. Oh, run away with the travelling show. Run away with the rambling gypsy. Come on.
Jamie, I'm playing Irish music for you.
Love it.
Jump in and take my hand.
All right, so for those of you that want to go check them out on iTunes, that is Gaelic Storm, and they played in the movie The Titanic. So if you haven't seen that for a while, or you have seen it and you remember that scene where the Irish band is playing, that is Gaelic Storm. We had the fun opportunity to see them years ago in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and they've always been my favorite Irish band since, so they're a lot of fun. If you're looking for fun Irish music to end your St. Patrick's Day on, go look them up, Gaelic Storm. Some people in my house, though, could care less that it's St. Patrick's Day. They're far more concerned that it is Selection Sunday. So we've got to figure out who's going where and make our bids in the Voris house. That's always a fun day. We've got so much great content coming your way this Sunday night. Sparta Nation, I'm so excited about our call tonight. And I want to share with you a little story, but I'm going to talk quietly because my daughter's upstairs and I don't want to be like, are you talking about me on your team call? That weirds her out. But we were at a we were at a show choir competition. We've been in a show choir competition all weekend in Nashville, Tennessee. These kids work so hard. I was chaperoning 105 high school students, which is a interesting experience in and of itself. And they did 2 performances yesterday. And the last performance that they did, part of their performances, there are 5 microphones set up on the stage. And there's a quintet, 5 girls that sing. And as they came down, we quickly could see that one of the mics was dead. Why this happens when they've had a sound check and they've already had a performance and this is a competition, we don't know, but one of the mics is dead. But what followed afterward was so interesting to me because as you all know, I don't really separate life from business. It's all the same, and everything that happens in life relates to my business. And I watched 2 students handle the situation very differently. I watched one student who knew the mic was dead go to the mic 3 times and pick it up and continue to try to use it. Same path. This is what I do. This is what I know. I pick up this mic. I keep doing that and expecting a different result. I watched another student realize the mic was dead and take control with picking up another mic, passing it to 2 or 3 other students, getting a live mic to the soloist who needed to have it, taking the dead mic off, completely taking control of the situation, because the end goal was an amazing show. The goal stayed the same, but how they got there needed to change. And I watched these 2 students who had same training, same show, same experiences, approach this situation completely different. One, same path over and over and over again. And the other, completely right on target, just changed her method. Goal stayed the same, but the method changed. And these are 17-year-old kids. And as I watched that, I thought, how many of us in coaching do that same thing? Well, I've always posted on Facebook for my challenge groups. Why is it not working now? And I'm just going to continue. I'm just going to keep doing that. That's all I know. Well, I've always done it this way in my business. And when our goal is our goal, the goal needs to stay the same, whatever your goal might be in this business. But to get there, we may have to take a different path. And sometimes that path has to be figured out spur of the moment. Sometimes it's something we develop over time. But how you build your business now in March 2019 might be different than how you built it just in February 2019. Because how they did that show at 8:30 on Saturday night was very different from how they had to do that show at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. Same day, same show, same kids. But the method had to change to get to the goal. So I'm sharing that with you. If it resonates with you in any way, I want you to think about that going into this next week. What are your goals? And are you going after those goals? And I think that's so human nature for us to be looking at those goals and continuing to use some of the same methods because they're so comfortable. It was so comfortable for that student to just continue to reach for that mic. And about the 4th time she reached the mic, you could feel the audience going, oh, it's a dead mic. So hashtag, don't go for the dead mic this week. Get a new method. You're still going to you still go after the same goal, but the method might have to change. And take that into your week as you are going through, whether it's ultimate portion fix, whether it's transform 20, whether it's getting ready for something, whatever you're doing this week to get to your personal goal, rank advancement, income, volume, whatever it might be. Take a look at your methods. Do they have to change? Have you been doing the same thing over and over again and you feel like you're beating your head against the wall? Don't reach for the dead mic. It doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore. You might need a new method. And I think that's what's cool about this business. Certainly, as I watch those kids figure it out in the spur of the moment on that stage in front of almost 1,000 people in that auditorium last night, as I watched them figure it out, it was exciting and cool. And they came off of that stage going, wow, like they stuck that little feather in their cap thinking, we figured that out. That means we can figure out the next thing. Your goal might stay the same, but your methods may have to change. And I think that's one of the cool parts about this business. So take that into your week ahead if that helps you at all, sort of set your mindset. But I know that we have someone, you don't name your team Crush It Nation if your mindset is not ready to just crush it. And Jamie and I have been friends for a long time. He and his wife, Kim, live in Canada. And they are truly crushing it up there. There's nobody that I think talks about mindset better than Jamie. And it's been fun to watch him grow his team both in Canada and in the UK. Huge team over in the UK. And, we just don't have a lot of guys who are crushing it in this business. And I think it's really fun to hear from a new voice and a different voice and a guy voice talking to us tonight with how he's approached the business, how he's approached it with his wife, Kim, how they've built the business and how they've set some goals, but certainly probably changed their methods over the past few years. So Jamie, I'm going to let you, I can't stand it when people always go, and here, what are your accolades and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, my accolades are, I am a wife, mom, and a coach, and let's just go. So rather than share a lot about you, I'd rather you share about you and give us the stuff that's most important to you and dive in. Sparta Nation, please remember to hit speaker view so that Jamie takes up all of your screen. And
all of it.
The Brady Bunch, and the chat stays open. So if you've got questions while he's talking, make sure you're putting them over there so we can get those answered later. Jamie, thank you so much for taking time out of this there's no better person to talk to us on St. Patrick's Day.
Kind of, right?
I know. So thanks for giving us a little bit of your time tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You have got like such a radio voice. It's like, we're going to 105.5. We're about to take you down this Celtic highway of sounds and tracks. It's like so soothing. You need your own radio show or something. It was good.
In my next life, I shall be a radio show host.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. It's funny. Like I mean, obviously you meet a ton of people in this business and a ton of coaches and all that stuff. And while Julie and I have been friends, we probably don't know. I feel like I should know Julie better than I actually know Julie. There's something about her that I just feel a connection with. And I don't just say that about everyone. And maybe also because, it doesn't matter who you are in this business. We are all human beings and we all struggle with a lot of stuff. And the one thing about Julie that, I think I try to surround myself with people that I can learn from and that set an example for me that I can just at least try to emulate and follow. And you get in the odd test group with different people, the same people. And I think it was a test group and it was last year. And I'll share a bit of what I've been going through in 2018 and some of my struggles, post-concussion syndrome. And this isn't a pity party, by the way, but I've for 20 years, I've battled headaches, discomfort, post-concussion stuff. And you hear about it in the media now. And I'm actually, thank God, I've actually found some doctors that have been helping me and it's working. It's really outrageous treatments, but they're working. But last year I struggled. I had a really hard year, not from a business standpoint, because I'll talk about that stuff too. But when you suffer from chronic pain, it's really hard to explain to people what that's like. And one of the people that, without really even any notion or reason to reach out, and I'll share because I'm really an open book, and I think being vulnerable, especially as a male in this business, is actually a bit of a superpower because they don't expect it from me. They don't expect me to open up. They don't expect me to be vulnerable. So I think I actually have an advantage sometimes, because when I open up with people, they're like, whoa, because I'm a dude. I drink beer, I play sports, I wear caps. Like I'm not this, overly empathetic individual, but I share a lot. And in one of the test groups, I was on a mission to not drink alcohol. And I'll be honest with you, one of the things is when my head pain is really bad, and last year was horrible, I would have a drink at night because it kind of numbs it a bit. It was just part of it. And in the test group, I was like, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to not drink for whatever long it was. And Julie just reached out and was like, Jamie, if you need me, I'm here. Message me if you have a tough time and you feel like having one, and she didn't have to do that. And that's one of those things that just shows you true colors of people. And I really appreciate you, Julie, for that. And it makes you really appreciate the people in this business and never take them for granted. Anyone you come across, and everyone is fighting something that you probably don't know about. Everything seems so, on social media, we get the highlights, but man, we're all going through stuff, all of us. And just don't forget that with people and be there. So Julie, thank you. That was a very long thank you, but it needed to be done. So, yeah. And as you were telling the story about the mics, I'm just like, oh, resourcefulness. It's like, is that not the characteristic that I hope we are attracting and that we're looking for in people? Because like seeking, finding, searching for answers and different ways to do this. And I want to share this with you. And I don't want to talk about rank or qualifications or all that stuff. But, when I started this business, it took Kim about 6 months to jump into the business. When I started it, we went top 10 exclusively on our Facebook personal page. Like we were on Facebook personal. That's where we got our clients from, our coaches. We literally went top 10 from Facebook. And this business changes so fast, and you have to be moldable, and you have to be a sponge, and you have to constantly search for new ways to do things, because now, like just 2 years after that, we're almost exclusively on Instagram. And it's only been like 2 years in between that. We had to transition because I saw what was changing. I saw that like Facebook was kind of running dry and the ads were different. So I just, back to that story, it's like, be resourceful and try to constantly learn what you do. Like, this is a craft, and you have to learn your craft, and crafts change and all those things that go with that. So I'll give you my story really quickly with Beachbody. I taught high school for a long time. I shouldn't say a long time, 7 years actually, which isn't a long time. But I mean, I thought that was my career. I thought that's what I was going to do. I went and got my master's. I was like, okay, I'm going to get into be vice principal, principalship. My dad was a superintendent of schools. My mom was a grade 1 teacher. So that was my path. I actually enjoyed it. I loved high school. I loved working with the kids. I was that teacher who, like, you know, I taught phys ed and history in the throwaway classes where they're like, no, let's give it to Jamie. Like, I literally, my first year, I think I was 25, and they threw me typing 9 I had to teach. And I'm like, I have to teach typing 9? Like, really? So I taught for 7 years, and I enjoyed it. But my sister had a successful store. We were on the west coast of Canada in British Columbia, and my sister moved out to Ontario, which is kind of central east, just above Detroit, Buffalo. And she had a successful retail store. And my dad was like, why don't you and your brother move out here? My brother, Mike, who's a coach, and we were both teachers and full pension. And on a whim, we're like, yeah, let's go. So I literally quit my teaching job. We moved out to Ontario, and it took about a year of research, but we opened up, and this is back in 2003, we opened up what you would probably consider like a doggy boutique or a doggy lifestyle store. It was like, I know you're like, what? It was like really expensive collars and jackets and holistic food. It looked like, if you walked into it, it would look like a Banana Republic for dogs, kind of. It was very different. And at that time, you didn't see that stuff. So quickly, we had people come in and go, is this American franchise? We're like, no, it's just like 2 dudes. We opened this. Like, do you like it? And so we franchised it out. So we went through the process of, like, all of a sudden going from retail owner to a franchisor, and we opened it up. We had, I think, 23 stores at one time. We had 1 in New Jersey, the rest across Canada. But through that learning process and opening up the business, and I'll talk a bit about that compared to this business, but we brought in a business partner. It went sideways quickly. It was like one of those stories that you always hear about businesses, and it went sideways. It got into legal things where, like, our company was suing some of the franchisees, and then they go back and forth because they weren't following what we were doing. And it was just the stress of that. I don't know if you've ever, because when you own a corporation and then lawsuits start to happen, everyone throws in everyone personally. Like, you're just like, everyone gets thrown in personally. So I was literally being sued for about $5 million for about 5 years. And we had our newborn son and a new daughter. I don't know if you have any comprehension of what it's like to be sued for $5 million for that long of a time and have to talk to lawyers and go through stuff. It is awful. Like, it was horrendous. And I felt like I didn't do anything wrong. Like, I'm a very kind person. I'm not malicious, but we were kind of protecting our business, right? And so through that, ironically, as I'm sitting here talking to you, that all led to this, is that I gained about 60 pounds, self-medicated with alcohol. Food was the big one. I'm about 190, 195 comfortably, not to talk about weight, but to give you a sort of a point. And like, probably got up to about 250, 255. Just self-medication to numb the pain of what I was going through. We had a brand new baby boy. We were fairly newly married. And through that process, I was just sitting there one night, probably eating pizza, drinking scotch, or whatever I was doing at that time. And P90X came on, the infomercial. And for whatever reason at that time, I was like, okay, this guy is way too happy, but something resonated about Tony. And he's Tony, right? And so I ordered it, and that was the start of us being like customers of Beachbody. And we stayed customers. We have every DVD set that they own. I knew nothing about the coaching opportunity. And this is the point I want to make to all of you, and this is really critical, is that the coaching finally came to Canada, I think in 2012, I don't know, 13 maybe, Julie, I don't know. Around that time, I think I was 2 or 3 years into Canada when it was there, and Shakeology came. Like Kim and I were Shakeology customers for, I think, 3 years. Like, we were avid customers. my wife was using the derm line, the awesome derm line. She's like, this is amazing, this stuff. And we were probably spending, I don't know, $300-400 a month, like just your A-level customer, right? And guys, we were never reached out to once. And we were on social media. We were never reached out to once about a challenge group. I knew nothing about them. I didn't know what they were. Even when I started coaching, someone's like, you got to run challenge group. I'm like, what's that? Or about the coaching opportunity. Not once. We were sitting ducks there for somebody to pick us off. But no one ever invited us. No one reached out to us. So you guys, you just never know. And this is why you have to sit down in your office. Yes, make an office in your house. I don't care if it's against the wall and it's a chair. Make a designated spot in your house. You have to make that invite process just something that you don't go to bed until the number that you've picked or whatever you are comfortable with, that number gets reached, because you never know who the next person is you're going to invite this to. And I'm not saying this out of ego, but we've produced a fair amount of volume for my upline, and we'd look really good on your weak leg. But you never know who the next person is going to be. You just don't. And that's why you have to keep doing this, guys. You have to keep that invite process open. So 2014, I finally learned about the coach opportunity. I think I kept watching, at the end of the video, you'd see the summit reel come up, and I'm like, oh, what's this? And then my sister-in-law, who was doing other network marketing, she was like, you should coach. I sat on it for 10 months because I was scared and I didn't know much about it. And I was like, everyone else, you're like, So I always approach that mindset when I'm talking to someone new. I go back to how I thought then. And then 2015, I signed up as a coach. I think the November before that, my wife and I had corporate jobs, and we were on the road 3-4 hours a day. We were 2 or 3 hours away from our kids. Other people raised our kids. Like, we were the 6:05 parents. We'd pick up our kids at like late. We were supposed to pick them up at 6, but we'd roll in at 6:05 every day, grabbing our kids from after school care. And there was the November before I signed up where, like, Kim and I sat on the couch. We were just like, something has to change. Because I think we saw each other for like 4 days that month because of our corporate jobs. And Kim was flying all over. She was doing gerontology work and stuff like that. And we kind of just got to a point where we knew something had to change. So I jumped into coaching, and here I am 4 years later talking to you on a team call, which is really weird. Like, it's been a really fast process, but I want to share a few things with you. And do I think I'm going to deliver any huge knowledge you haven't heard before? No, probably not. Most people don't. But if you can walk away from this with maybe a nugget or something that I say to you that sort of rattles in your brain a little bit and it starts to bounce around, you're like, okay, I haven't heard it that way, and it resonates, then hopefully I've done my job for you and Julie and everybody else. With my past business background, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about that, because when I joined coaching, I filled out an application form for my upline. He was a he called me within 30 seconds of me hitting submit on the application. I was like, what the, who? Oh, hey, it's you. That was quick. I'm like, wow. And he was like, I just read your application. You sound serious. And I was like, no, I really am serious. And then he's like, so do you use the products? I'm like, yeah, we've got Beachbody On Demand. We have the DVDs at that time or whatever. I said, we're using Shakeology and this and that. And he's like, okay. So he's like, I said, so what's the cost to sign up? And he's like, it's $50 or $49.95 in Canada to pay the coach fees. Like, cause you don't want a challenge pack. And I said, well, what's a challenge pack? And no, I have all that stuff. I said, it's $50. What do you mean? Like, what do I get for the $50? He's like, you can become a coach and run your business. And I was like, okay, what else is there? Because listen, I come from a retail background where my brother and I opened a store and we spent $250,000 to open the store. A lot of that we borrowed from my mom and dad, who were retired. They were RSPs of theirs. And this was a doggy boutique we opened. Like, people thought we were crazy. And we probably were a little bit looking back. But I look at that business and what I had to go through and putting in the $250,000, having to have about $100,000 of inventory in that store. Our store we placed was in the highest per capita income in Canada. We did that for a reason, because people love their dogs and they're willing to spend $250 on a Burberry dog jacket. Like, go figure. And so our rent was about $7,000-8,000 a month. We were paying employees, like in everything else that comes with the business. The first 2 years, I think we took Christmas off and maybe one other day, and we worked from about 8 till 9 at night every day. The first 2 years in that one store before we franchised, we did about 1.5 million in sales, the first 2 years combined, and we made this much money. $0. We started to eventually make money when we were franchising and stuff like that, but even individual stores weren't making that much money. So when I came into this business, I was like, okay, hold on. So it's $50 to sign up. That's cool. I get to help people. And my monthly fee in Canada is $19.95. I was like, that doesn't really add up. Like, what piece am I missing? And you eventually figure out that you're actually not missing a piece. And I share all this because maybe you can think a little bit about the background that I came from when you start to talk to potential coaches, because this is how I approach potential coach calls, is I do talk about my story, which you should too, I think. And so I come from a place when I come into this business, I'm like, and it's why when people like balk at $150 to sign up or $160 or $86 in Canada, whatever that small number is, and really they don't actually have to pay anything to sign up, and they get all the products to try and Beachbody On Demand, and they get to take care of themselves. I literally am flabbergasted when people say no to me. And I come with this attitude, right? I show up with this attitude, not cocky or arrogant or anything like that, but I'm like, but I explain, the process of what coaching is and how it's a very fair business and it's affordable, obviously. And I think it's important that when you talk to, because listen, when you talk to potential coaches, there's a consciousness and a subconscious conversation going on between yourself, the person you're talking to, and you're going to show up a certain way. Your vibe, the vibe you give off of a certain way. And here's the thing. If you don't believe in this business opportunity, it's going to come across. You may say verbally, oh no, it's a great business. I love it. You get compensation and you go diamond and you have to take care of yourself. But honestly, like if you really have a truthful conversation with yourself about this business, I hope like deep in your soul, you understand how stupidly good and crazy this opportunity is. Like it is kind of a joke, guys. And you get to return the business within 30 days if you don't like it. Like, that's not normal, you guys. That's not a normal business. Like, and here's the other thing. This is the good and bad about this business, is that I actually wish sometimes when a coach had to buy a challenge pack, I actually wish it was like $1,000. Honestly, because then you'd have skin in the game. Then you wouldn't treat this like a frickin' hobby. And I'm generally speaking out loud. I don't know any of you. I know some of you, but not all of you. I don't know what you do in your business. But I'm just going to keep it truthful here. There's probably a good selection of you that treat this like a hobby or maybe a part-time gig. And maybe it is a part-time gig. But I came into this business, and from day one, because I grew pretty fast, from day one, I didn't look and go, I invested $250,000 in this business. I invested actually $50 in this business. The difference for me, I treated them exactly the same. Exactly the same. That 50, it was my time. Like my time, whether I'm sitting in a retail store selling bakery dog biscuits or trying to sell franchises to people, and I was selling like $250,000 franchises to people. I took that same approach in this business, and I blocked out what it cost me to invest. I blocked out when I saw the $19.95 coach fee come out every month. I was spending my time on it anyway. My time it's the same worth whether I invested $250,000 into a business or $50 in the business. My time is my time. If I'm going to do something, I'm maxing out. Why wouldn't I max out? Just because it costs a certain amount doesn't mean I'm like, it's $50. Shit, no. I'm spending my time on something. That time in my business, I'm taking away from my kids and my wife and my family and my friends. So you better believe every ounce of energy that I pour into this business, I max out. I squeeze every minute out of this business I can. And you need to ask yourself the same question. Do you do the same? Do you squeeze your potential out of this business? Like, can you honestly, truthfully sit there and say you do that? Because that's really a difference maker, is how you look at this business. And then, because here's the thing, this is my belief anyway. You can disagree with me, obviously, and maybe some of you will. I think the exact type of coach that you are right now, and when I say type, I don't mean like your personality, really your character. I mean like what you do in this business, your commitment level to this business. I think that's exactly who you're going to attract in this business. So you better be really careful how you show up in this business, because that determines a lot about who's going to come message you. And people are like, yeah, I can't attract anyone. Well, yeah, I know you spend an hour a week on your business. Well, of course you're not going to attract anyone, you know? Are lives on Instagram scary and freaky for some people? Well, yeah, they were for me the first time too, but now I've done 1,000. They're really easy now because I've done 1,000 of them. My first 10 were awful. I was terrible. I was nervous, or Facebook when we did, or whatever it is. Like, but you got to do that stuff, guys. Like, you got to grow through that uncomfortability, right? And all I know is, you know, when I'm vulnerable on social media and I go live and I'm a dork at heart, I love to laugh. I do not take life too seriously. All I know is that people really resonate with my personality because they're like, that dude's real. I'm not trying to be something I'm not, because if there's any kind of, and I'll talk a bit about superpower, but if there's any kind of superpower in this, and the irony of it is that everything that people are so deathly afraid to be on social media, which is yourself, you are so petrified to show up as you. And I know, because we've been trained as society to act a certain way, but that fear that you have to show up as just you and all of your beautiful flaws and the weird quirky shit that you are. Sorry, this kid's on the call. I just saw, my apologies. The quirky stuff that you do and like the weird things about you, that is the magic, you guys. And that's the stuff you don't share. And you wonder why you're not building a team or business. It's because that's the beauty of that. When you share that quirky stuff and that weird stuff, like, that's the thing that people are like, oh my God, that girl, man, that's who I want to, like we literally, like, you'll get to a point where people are like, I don't know what you do. I don't know what you're selling. I want to be a part of it, because you just show up so authentically you. And that is kind of the secret of this business, if there is one. And some people are like, you know, especially as a guy in this business, because guys, I don't want to say guys struggle, but I don't know if there's any guys on here, but it's like, I get a lot of guys message me and they're like, you know, how do you reach out to guys and get guys to sign up? I'm like, I don't. What are you talking about? I don't reach out for guys. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm trying to get people to join my team, not guys. I'm trying to get people who want to grow a business. And they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, like 95% of the people I sign up are women who want to build a business. Why are you going for guys? Like, isn't that like, why would you just, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, and that's, you know, this isn't avatar training or anything like that, but that's part of what you come across, like, on social media, how you show up. I lead with the business a lot because, you know, I'm not going to resonate that much with girls on some of the stuff that maybe you resonate with. And I would sound sexist if I started to talk about it anyway, so I don't want to, but like, I just don't resonate with women that way. But I'm like, listen, if you want to go to the mall with my wife and become her friend, which happens in this business, you know, people join because they get enamored by someone and that their fashion, and nothing wrong with that. You're the old influencer thing, whatever, if that's your deal. I'm just like, you know what? I know this business inside and out. I didn't when I started. I knew nothing about it. I didn't even know what network marketing was. But now, because I've educated myself, I just lead with the business. I'm like, listen, if you want a friend and you want to go do that stuff with them, you probably shouldn't join me. But I'll tell you what, if you want to grow a business, hop on my train, because we're going to do this together. And that's what I lead with. And that's a whole other discussion about if no one ever knows where you're going, right? Like, if they don't know where your train's going, if they don't know the destination of who you are. That's why on IG stories, like, I always talk about what I'm trying to accomplish this year, where I'm trying to go. It's usually Kim and I, but I'm like, you know, who wants to get on board with this? Because no one's going to hop on your train if you don't even know where the destination is. Why would they get on your train? They don't know where it's going. Would you get on a subway and not know where it's going? Of course not. So I'm constantly talking about my goals on social media. I'm constantly talking about what we want to make 2019 the biggest year ever. They don't know what that means, but they're attracted to that because I'm talking about big stuff, right? So before there's one characteristic and skill set, I think, that really embodies leaders, and it's one word. I've always used it. I read an article on it about a month ago, and I still believe that's it. It's the one thing that I think separates people who excel in life and business. And I will talk about that in a sec, because it's really important you understand what I mean by it. And the cool part is it doesn't require any talent or skill. But people are like, how have you been able to do what you've done? Or how are you and Kim, successful, whatever you deem success in this business to be, which really is your own definition. And we talk about superpowers because I think we all have them. And I think if there's one thing, and Kim and I are pretty similar in the business with how we show up for it. I think one superpower would just be unrelentless, devoted, passionate, just like so ingrained consistency in this business. Like, and I have a term called expected consistency. And I think that defines leadership. It's like when you can expect a certain person to do things, like when their consistency is just so expected consistency, that's a part of leadership. I feel like that's one of my superpowers. Like my team just knows I'm showing up every Monday night for our team call, and I'm going to bring some kind of a value for them. And they just know that. They know I'm going to show up on my Insta stories. They know I'm showing up on social media. They know I'm going to show up and fill out my business activity tracker. They know I am going to show up when they message me or want a phone call. It's just expected consistency. And if that's a superpower, I think Kim and I, that's the one thing. And I don't think you can ever tell people what to do in this business or in life. I think you can really just show people and be an example for people. And I think that expected consistency is a big one. It's a big one because at the end of the day, your consistency actually makes you level up. And that's all expected consistency is. It makes you level up to what's going on. And what I love also about uplines and downlines and the whole compensation plan and how this all works, one of my favorite parts about it is that it actually doesn't matter where you are in anyone's organization or who your upline is or who your downline is. When you show up with extreme consistency, you not only level up people in your downline, you level up people in your upline. That's what I love about it. You want to see a coach go, holy crap, watch one of their own PS coaches start to kill the business. And they're like, whoa, holy cow. Okay, like that lights a fire under people. That lights a fire under people, right? And it goes both ways. It's like that culture of collaboration we have on our team. It's like everyone knows everyone's goals up and down the line because we're all going to support each other's goals. Because one day I'm going to have to talk to my coaches and be like, guys, we're going for Superstar Diamond this quarter. I'd love for you to be in. Is this a goal that you want to get to? That's something I have to have a discussion with my leaders because they're going to have a discussion with their own leaders one day. And that's that culture of collaboration that just goes up and down the line. We're all working towards the same goal. That's really what we're all trying to do at the end of the day. So consistency. And this is my other, I think this is maybe my biggest superpower. And I always joke with people like, and you're going to think, oh, he's joking. I'm not joking. Like I had a bit of insecurity growing up. My brother's super smart. Like he would take apart like radio alarm clocks as a kid and take them completely apart and put them back together. I'm like, I honestly can't set up IKEA. Like if you ask me to like connect a VCR to something, I am lost. Like when I grew up, my dad did not teach me like how to change the oil on a vehicle. I have no clue that way. Like he took me outside and taught me like how to throw a curveball or, hockey or whatever, because I'm a jock, but I am useless in that kind of thing. And I honestly, when I say this, I'm like, I am of mediocre intelligence, mediocre at best. And I had issues. Like I remember in high school being like, okay, I remember being like 16 and thinking about this stuff. Like when I graduate and I have to get a house, I don't know what a mortgage is. How would I ever figure out what the interest rate is? Like that was the stuff that like I was worried about growing up because I didn't think I was smart enough because I was comparing myself to my brother who can do all these little things. But I think, consistency for me is one, and I don't want to share it yet, but I'll talk about it in a sec as the other one. But really, this is a big one for me. I think that helps me in this business and in life. And this is the number one thing that just kills people's business and goals. And you might not even know it yet. Or maybe you do. It's like, I just have never, I care about people. I have a ton of empathy. I really care about what people, I don't want to say what care about people think. I care about what they say, and I take it and I use it if I want to use it. But sorry, my dog is having a freak attack. But probably one of my biggest things is I don't care about the opinion of other people. I just don't. Like, I have not one iota. I do not care what people think. My cousin, my parents, I love them. They're supportive, by the way, but like, it just does not matter to me. This is my life. My 10-year-old son, Colby, and my 7-year-old daughter, Tessa, and my wife, Kim. How freaking dare me not pursue something because of what someone thinks or says? Like, when I think about it, I'm just like, how do people stop doing cool stuff because of what someone else? But yet, I'll bet you, how many people on the call right now? 52. I'll guarantee you there's X amount of people on this call. You have so limited your potential and where you're at in this business because you're worried about what people think. Someone close to you, I bet. Doesn't that sound crazy though? Like, doesn't that really sound like, if I told you, if I could see into the future, or like snap my fingers and be like, listen, I'm just going to pick Jennifer Moore. I just picked you. We don't know each other, but Jennifer Moore. And I don't know what rank you are, anything about you, but what if I said, like, Jennifer Moore, 2.5 years ago when you started this business, or 4 years ago when you started this business, if those things that got in your way, those blocks up about what people would think and your coworkers and all that, if I was like, you'd be making like $300,000 this year already because you actually, everything you posted on social media was different because you didn't care. If I told you that, you would go back in time and be like, of course you wouldn't care what people think. Because you'd go back in time and realize how silly that would sound. You'd be like, no, I'm making $14,000 a week doing this. Why would I care what people think? But that happens every day for people because they can't see that into the future. All they see is the $140 commission they made this month because they're not posting authentically and they're just looking like every other Beachbody coach in the network. Because every other Beachbody coach in the network thinks they have to look a certain way. And they just show up with their Shakeology. And no one knows anything about them. No one knows what they struggled with. No one knows that they struggled with bulimia. No one knows that, they lost their father when they were 10. No one knows anything about those people. So it doesn't resonate, because you're scared of being authentic because you're so worried about what someone else is like, guys. And the other thing too is like, people actually don't care that much about what you're doing. They just don't. You're not that important. I'm not that important. Julie's not that important. We're nobodies. No one really cares about what you're doing. They don't care what you're doing. You think your life is busy? It's like that for every other human being on the planet. Nobody cares. They might make a comment on it. Your mother-in-law may make a comment to your husband because, well, she hasn't liked you forever. Why start now? She's going to make a comment about this new thing she's doing. And like, that's just what mother-in-laws do. But it's like, we all know, I hope you know at this point that, I actually take a little bit of joy when we get a hater, like when or a dude will reach out to me and he'll say something because I'm pretty open on social media. And I get a warm, fuzzy feeling because in that moment when someone is a hater or they don't like what I'm doing or they think what I'm doing is weird or whatever opinions you get about this, I call it white noise. It gives me that warm feeling because I actually in that moment realize I'm just so much more enlightened with what I'm doing in this world. And that person is actually in so much pain themselves because the only reason you reach out to someone you don't really know, or even if they know you, they are hurting so badly about something that they have to actually express how they feel about what you're doing to make them, like, I think we all know that, right? Like that's pretty logical psychiatry 101 that we learn on the first day of university psychiatry class. Like we all know that. So that's how I approach it. Those people are probably in a lot of pain. I actually feel sorry for them. Because why would you ever reach out to someone or people who talk behind each other's back? So that's my superpower. I just don't care. I never have. I just don't care. My daughter Tessa is too important. The fact that my daughter is 7 and she wants to do all this. She thinks she's going to be Taylor Swift. She's really talented. I'm biased, of course. She's in dance, choir, acting, gymnastics. We have her in private lessons, and we're not those parents who push it all. Like, we're not like that at all. We're very balanced. But she wants to do all those things, and I don't have to think about cost ever. It's not even a consideration for me. And I'm not saying that to be braggy or anything like that, but I don't even have to think about that anymore. It's just like, is that a good program, Kim? Like, will she do well? I'm like, Tess, are you enjoying it? I love it, Dad. Cool. Can I do a summer camp? Awesome. I don't have to worry about that stuff, because one of my superpowers is when I started this, I didn't care what people thought about what I was doing. And it's led us to all these freedoms. And 2 years into the business, part of the reason, because I didn't care about, because I did have a cousin reach out to me. I call him Cousin Joe. I talk about him all the time. And he called me actually a few choice words, which I would never repeat on a recorded team call. And I know him, but not, and he's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you shared your story on Facebook? Like, and I won't tell you the words he called me, but they were aggressive. Do you think I care what Cousin Joe thinks now? Like, come on. So that's something I really want you to work on and think about and dive into, is like, and I know that's all PD work, and we're not here to talk about PD because but like, that is something, and I really want to encourage you on social media. You don't have to share everything, but if I can do it, you sure as heck can do it. Like, I'm a 46-year-old grown, old, aging man, balding man who is sharing his stories. Well, it's not that bad. It's thinning a little bit, but it's getting there. But if I can do this, like, if I can share this, you can do it too, you know? And yeah, women can be mean. I know. I think women can be a little meaner than men sometimes, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I know it's hard, especially when it's family, but it's time to move on. You have bigger stuff. And when you're 90 and when you're 90 and all your great grandkids are around, you're not going to care about these people's opinion. Like, come on. So can we just agree on that? From this point going forward, guys, move forward. No more caring. None. It is crushing your business. It's killing your business. It is. Whether you know it or not, it is killing your business. And some of you might consciously not even know you're not actually being totally authentic. And I have a message for your spouses at the end, by the way, too. You can, the little 2 or 3 minutes I give to them, you can show them that. They won't like me, but that's okay. So, number 2. So number 1 is consistency, relentless consistency. Number 2 for me, superpower, I just don't care what people think. And I think the third one probably is, it's kind of 2 things, and I shared it with you at the start about my past business experience, is I actually think, I don't like hope, but I actually know and understand how great this business is from a compensation standpoint, from how genealogy works, from why it's so fair, you know? Like, and I bring this up with all coach conversations I have, potential coaches. I think this is part of the reason that both Kim and I have a really, I don't want to call it closing rate, but I'll use that term. But when we talk to people, like, they're in, because I think I come with that confidence because I do understand how awesome this business is. And I don't explain all the compensation stuff and how you don't get into those team cycle and bonuses, and you don't talk in too much detail with potential coaches. But I do understand that stuff, and I would encourage you to, right? Like, competency leads to confidence. And there are 2 genealogy videos I do on my YouTube channel that if you ever want to go in, they're about 10, 15 minutes long each, and I try to break it down for people. But you should have an idea of that, because that leads to confidence going into these conversations. And confidence is huge in this business, guys. So I do think I understand that. It's a good power I have. And then the other thing is, it's like, I take 100% responsibility for my business. 100% responsibility. When things suck, it's on me. When things are not doing well, it's on me. It's not my upline's fault, you know? And my coaches know that. Our team knows that about me. So what do you think they do? No excuses. No excuses. you know? I take 100% responsibility for my business, and I would hope that my coaches follow that lead. And I will tell you, and I only give this as an example because it's our story. It may not be your story, and maybe you have more full lives than Kim and I did when we started. Maybe you don't. But when we started the business, like we both had corporate jobs, traveling a lot. We had a 3 and a 6-year-old. And my wife was finishing her degree at the same time in gerontology. And we made it work because we realized the potential of it all. And at the end of the day, like I'm not going to sit here and at the end of the call, you're going to be like, oh, it's so easy now or anything like that. You have to decide how much this means to you. At the end of the day, you have to decide what's going to make you kind of draw that line in the sand and be like, okay, all right, now's the time where I'm going to actually treat this like a business. I'm trying to find a business activity tracker. I usually have one around here I was going to show you, but like that business activity tracker, the new one they have is gold. Like treat that like the most important business meeting you have every day that you have to show up for and do that, because only you're going to make that happen. So I want to go back to, oh my God, 7:50 already. Holy, I can blab. Can I not blab and just go? I don't even know what I'm talking about. It's like we've gone like 40 minutes. I'm going to keep going. This is the one thing I think separates people from whatever you deem successful in this business. It's one word. What do you think it is? Put it in the chat. I'm so curious. It's one like thing that you can have that just one word. People like, no, I'm not guessing. Good, passion, belief. Belief is big. Drive's good. I think, Mimi, commitment, yeah. I think, I still haven't heard it. Faith, yeah. Honesty's good. I think it really comes down to grit. I don't think this is about talent. I really don't. I don't think it's about talent. I think I'm proof of that. I don't think it's about skill. Like I said, I joke about my mediocre intelligence. I can't put anything together. But like I was that kid playing football in the front yard. I was probably 12 years old. Like this is who I was as a child. I was a good athlete, but I wasn't the smartest kid. We're playing football in the front yard in my parents' lawn, and they've got a beautiful picture window. I bet my friends, it's my dad's house, that I can throw a spiral at the picture window as hard as I can, and I bet my friends it won't break. I just like fire, just a rocket spiral explodes. The whole window explodes. Like that's how smart I was as a kid, And so it's like this grit, because what grit really comes down to, you guys, is really it's about doing things when you don't feel like it. It's doing things when you just don't feel like it. And man, last year, 2018, it really made me think about it. It made me think about what led to some of Kim and I's success in this business. And like we both left our corporate jobs about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. Now we now get to work from home and take our kids to school and pick them up. And I'm just so grateful for our life, to be honest with you. And last year, it was really trying, and it got to a low point in Vegas. Was that leadership, Julie? Vegas? Is that leadership? I get confused. And I got home from Vegas, and I sat because like Kim and I are really close. Obviously, we're married, but we're close. We're business partners. We spend every day together. Some days she's like, "I'm going to Starbucks to work." I'm like, "Cool," because you gotta, you can only spend so much time together with someone, And she's an amazing human being, but she probably needs to get away from me far more than I need to get away from her. But like it got to a point where I sat her, and that was October, so that's 6 months ago. And I said, babe, I'm actually way worse than you think I am. She's like, what do you mean? because I've been, she knows about my chronic pain. Like since she married me, it's been there. 20 years I've looked for answers for this, guys. Post-concussion syndrome. And by the way, there's this, if you know anyone or love anyone that's going through stuff like this and you need help, message me because I'll help you. There's different stuff they need to look at, just because I know it's a huge thing right now that no one knows what the answer is. Just message me if you need help. I'll gladly give you some resources because I've finally figured out what it is actually. And I've had these doctors help me and stuff. And I just sat her down. I said, babe, I'm like, I know you know I'm going through stuff and this chronic thing because it comes and goes, right? It actually, sometimes it'll stick around for a day, sometimes a week. This last time, and when I was preparing to speak at Summit, it was about 3 weeks before Summit in Indy, by the way, which was the best Summit I've been to. It came back. And I was like, oh, and it's hard to explain. I'm not here to tell you my symptoms and all that stuff, but it's like, it's hard. And it stayed from about 3 weeks before Summit till about 2 months ago. And if you've ever dealt with chronic pain, you know how mentally exhausting it is. And I just sat her and I said, babe, I'm like, this is way worse than you think it is. She's like, what do you mean? I said, we need to find something different because this is not, I was not the person I was, like just personality wise, everything. And you can see why chronic pain leads to depression. Then it leads to this, like, guys, you see these professional athletes, what's happening to them, hockey players, football players. If you've seen the movie Concussion, like they're committing suicide and stuff, guys. Like this is a real epidemic. And I was on that path. And so I got help. And by the way, I feel amazing now. Like I've lost 20 pounds in the last 2 months. I've got all these treatments. So I'm like, I literally feel like I have a new life. It's the weirdest thing. It's like, I'm so grateful for every opportunity. And there's nothing like going through, and I know some of you have been through stuff like this. There's nothing like coming out on the other side after all this time and feeling like I do now. And I'm so fired up and grateful for life. And I just will never take it for granted, or my health. Like I'm working out twice a day because for so long I couldn't. I'm just like, I got to work out. Let's go. What are we doing? And I'm spinning in the morning. I'm doing like Insanity Max 30 in the morning. I'm doing lift for it. And I'm just like, I'm so engaged back with life. My point being, guys, last year, and again, this isn't me and my ego talking, but for like 8 months of the year, 8 months, I was rough. But you know what? I showed the F up in my business. And I showed up for every team call Monday night for my team. And I did my invites every damn day. And I showed up for my kids every day, and my wife, and my business partners. And that's grit. That's grit. That's all this is, guys. It's the day it's the 2 weeks that you take off, or the week that you take off from the business. It's not because you lack skill or talent. It's like there's a grit level that you've just decided to go do other stuff. And I'm not saying you can't go enjoy your life. We have a great time in our life. We don't just work all the time. But you know when you're not showing up in your business. You know when you're not showing up in your business. That's just grit. You're just letting this little guy on your shoulder tell you to go watch Netflix, rather than this person on your shoulder being like, you got a business to build and you have an incredible opportunity right now. You should probably focus on the business because you've said some pretty big things to your upline, what you want to accomplish this year. So you better live up to that. And this person's like, go watch Netflix. Like, go watch, what's the latest thing? I'm trying to think. Anyway, like that's all this business is, guys, is just grit. You show up on a team call like today. This is grit. This is grit. When you have a bad week and you have 50 million no's and you just want to pack it in, but you don't, like that is just grit. That's all this is, guys. It's all this is. And I don't know if you want to call that a superpower, but like it's being resourceful. That's grit. It's like not complaining, not whining, not blaming what's going on with because it's your upline. You're on a upline that's like, 9-time elite, which is just stupid, crazy good. Like you of all people have zero excuses, by the way. Like I don't think you guys realize, like, and it's like same with, I think, our team too, like coaching in itself is good enough on its own. The fact that you're on a team with resources and you get speakers, like, you're 100 miles ahead of the game. But that's part of it. Like you can sit and complain and whine about the business and what's going wrong and not. Man, you'll never see me whine or complain about this business ever. Not frickin' once. Not once. Not even when I started and nothing was working for me. Never. You will never see me complain. Ever. That's grit. Stop it. Take 100% responsibility for your business and things will change for you. If you, and I'm just speaking to everyone, I'm not speaking to specific people. So that's that 100% ownership part too, is like, you just put it on your own shoulders, because then you will be able to change it. Because it's such a slippery slope to be like, it's because of this and that and them and that and my spouse and the kids and all that stuff. At the end of the day, if you kind of want it, if you want it, you're going to want it and you're going to make the time for it. There's enough time in the day, you guys. There really is. There's enough time in the day. And it's like, working out every day, of course, sure, that requires some grit. Drinking your shake doesn't require grit. It's like a milkshake. But, and I also think that, like, I think immediate gratification is kind of like the same thing as a drug. It's like a drug you can take because it's immediate gratification. It's easy. It makes you feel good. You're like, oh, I'm just going to do this, instead of like, reaching out to somebody that you've wanted to reach out to for 3 months. It's so much easier to just sit back on your couch and have a glass of wine and like not do that. That comes down to like grit, and you gotta put those drugs of immediate satisfaction. You gotta put the immediate satisfaction aside of what kind of feels good in that moment, and go do the tough stuff. Go do the tough shit, the stuff that moves the needle on your business. The most difficult things to do in your business that you wait till the end of the day to do, those are the biggest game changers. Like, that's the stuff that moves the needle the most, right? The hardest stuff to do. And yeah, I mean, it's already 8 o'clock, so I'll stop talking. But I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's like, I hope you picked up a couple nuggets, guys, and a bit of a wake up call. It's like, there's no mystery or secret to this business. And I know you hear that over, and I know you get tired and sick of it. But my word of advice to you is to treat this like a $250,000 business. Treat this like a doggy boutique that you borrowed your parents' money from, and you better make sure you pay them back. That's how I treated this business from day one. And only you can answer how you treat this business. And lo and behold, because I treated it like that, I think it's worked out for us. Because I took it serious from day one, It's what I got, Julie.
Jamie, you're so awesome. You can talk for as long as you want. I don't really care. I know we do have some questions, and I wanted to comment. It was so interesting when you were talking about how, not caring about what other people think. That particularly struck me tonight, because when we were kind of having this conversation about the student who kept picking up the mic and keep picking up the dead mic, my other daughter and I were in the car kind of talking about it, and I said, 100% that student is going to think about that, talk about that, mull over that, and make that entire situation about her. And all we could think about was, okay, you made a bad decision, but your dress didn't fall off. You didn't fall off there after the show went on. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
No one is thinking about it now. Like, the problem has been solved. And that's what you were saying is, people aren't thinking that much about you. Stop caring about what they think and do the thing that brings you joy, and just do it. And so that couldn't have been more perfect timing that you were talking about that. So I loved hearing that. So someone was asking a question about a personal development book. And I think, Christy, you were saying, like, what is a good PD book for grit? And my immediate reaction was, it's called Life. You don't just read a book and, okay, I have grit. I mean, there is a book out there entitled Grit by Angela Duckworth, which is amazing. However, you could all read it and still not have the qualities of grit. So it really is, as Jamie was saying, to your point, it's a choice that you make every day. We get up and you do the thing that you may not want to do. It's not a book that you read and go, okay, I've got it now. Can the book help? Of course it can. That's why we do personal development. Can we recommend that book? Should we read that book? Can we read it a couple times? Can we get the general? Of course, that's not to dismiss that at all. But the answers to the business can't always just be found in a book. That's just simply a tool that we're filling ourselves, with inspiration and energy to continue to find the grit, to do the work, to do the hard stuff, whatever. You're not just going to read the book and get it. But do I recommend the book Grit by Angela Duckworth? I do. It's awesome. It's not going to magically make you have it oodles of grit. Well,
you can overconsume on personal development. I think you got to limit yourself because I think in one PD book, if you can take one thing out of it that improves your life and business, cool. But I think people go to town on personal development. They forget about their business, And
they forget about actually applying.
Yes.
We're just reading. I'm reading all kinds of books. Awesome.
Yeah.
What are you doing with all kinds of books?
I also I'm a firm believer. If you pick up a book and you get a chapter or two in it's just not, move on, move on to something else. You're not entitled to finish it if it's not resonating, because PD is so personal. That's why I can give you a list of 10 books, but it's like you're searching for the right stuff that resonates with you.
Right. And the bigger list you have, the more you can share that list with your coaches and your team. So when they ask, you're like, well, I've got 4 or 5 here that, see what works for you, whatever. Brandy says, what message did you have for spouses?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I don't want to go on a 10-minute rant. So just really quickly, it's like,
do it. Just go on a rant. I can.
Oh my gosh. I think on our team, we have good success with spousal support because I think I do bring an element. I think there's this weird thing about, I don't know if maybe it's just me thinking it, but with guys in the business, maybe the guys in this business are different or weird or think differently, where I really feel like I'm the most normal, jockiest, beer drinking dude that there is. So I think for a lot of spouses, I'll get on a call with them and they're like, oh, he's normal. You know what I mean? Oh, he's relatable. He's normal. He likes baseball and hockey and football and, sports. And I swear, and it's normal, right? So guys, they're like, okay, I'm willing to listen to you. That's kind of, so we have a lot of spousal support on our team for that reason. And my whole thing with other guys is I think it's part just being ignorant to the business. They don't know what how would they know what this business is? They don't know anything about it, but there's two sides. It's I get spouses who, you've been doing this for a year. Are you showing up or not? And it's still been a year, you're paying all these fees, and you're in the business and you have nothing to show for it. And I'm not saying don't be patient. It doesn't mean it's going to happen right away. But I get it when some spouses are like, you're cruising Facebook, you're not really working the business, yet you're taking time away from your family and him. I get that right to be PO'd. That's fair for them. If you're not doing the business and all in and you're taking time, I get that. However, if you are working the business and they don't support you, and I'll say this to guys when they're on calls, when we do spouse calls, I'll be like, look at your wife, and I'm saying wife, I know there are spouses that are women too, but your wife, it's she's really trying to work the business. She's taking this serious and putting in the time, and you're just not giving her any credit for it. You're not supporting her. I'm like, spouses who don't support other spouses, you are literally just burning money. I'll tell them, you are burning money for your family because you're not supporting her in different ways when she's trying to build a legitimate business that can have a massive impact on your family financially, personally, physically, as everyone gets healthy. I'm like, but from a financial standpoint, you don't need to support your spouse, but you're literally burning money. And that's actually just a really stupid thing you're doing, because you're not willing to spend an ounce of time to actually learn anything about the business or support what she's trying to do because she's passionate about it. So I always say the burning money thing, because for guys, they're usually numbers, and they're like, what do you mean burning money? How can we make money at this? That type of stuff. But it's true, because imagine if the spouse would maybe watch the kids a little bit more when you're not, or take an interest in genealogy or income and how that works and stuff like that. So I find we get a lot of participation on our team because we do those spouse calls and they can relate to me and stuff. So you can show them that clip. It is though. If you're working the business and they don't support you, they're just burning money for you guys.
I always say too that they say they don't, my spouse doesn't support me, and 99.9% of the time they've not had a conversation about what support looks like.
Yes.
Feels like, shows up like in a day-to-day. They don't even know what they want from, or they see these expectations of, okay, so maybe you and Kim work out together. So now all of a sudden they think, well, when my husband's not working out with me, he's not, or she's not supporting me. No, that just happens to be your path, and maybe your path is different, but you haven't even had that conversation with them. So that's not even fair to say they're not supporting you when you haven't even had a conversation what support looks like in the first place.
Yeah. The first thing I did with Kim, and it's reversal because I'm the dude and stuff, but because she was in the corporate ladder and this was not for her. The first thing I did is I literally sat her down and I was like, Kim, I'm like, I believe in this. I'm taking this serious. Like, I'm going all in on this and I'm going to need your help. I know you don't want to do the business. That's fine, but I need your help. And you're going to have to give me a bit of grace on some stuff because I'm going to be on calls and she appreciated that. Like, have you done that with your spouse? Mm-hmm. Have you sat them down and been like, hey, I really care about this. Like, this is really important to me. I really care about this and it's making me better. And I think if I keep working at it, I think I can turn this into something pretty cool for us and at least help with maybe some of the bills or something. Like, mm-hmm. If you haven't done that, then that's kind of on you.
Correct. Then you can't say that they don't support you because they just don't know.
Right. We're not that sharp. You gotta stop.
That's like my husband still 11 years in the business. Now, what is a success call point? I'm like, I got it, honey. Don't worry. I got it. So we'll see you in a week.
Yes. I can't wait.
That's so exciting. So exciting.
I know.
So any of you that are on the cruise starting this weekend, and if you see Jamie and Kim on the cruise, make sure you say hi to him and his lovely wife. Make sure you introduce yourself and message him with other questions. And follow. Yes. Jamie, you're just Jamie Fitzpatrick on Instagram, right?
Yes. Jamie Fitzpatrick Fitness. Yeah.
Fitness. Jamie Fitzpatrick Fitness on Instagram and just Jamie Fitzpatrick on Facebook, I assume?
Yes.
Okay, so when you're sharing on Instagram stories tonight, make sure you're tagging him and sharing something favorites of his that he said tonight, because I took 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of notes. Thank you very much. So you dropped some great nuggets tonight. Thank you for sharing an hour of your time, an hour plus of your time tonight with us. I appreciate it so much. You can talk however long you want, Jamie. We're so glad that you were here with us tonight.
Thanks, Julie. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Big day tomorrow. Launch day. Big day tomorrow.
Yes. See you tomorrow.
See you, everybody. Bye, guys.